Turns out that the organizer behind the whole Stop the Steal effort has turned on people like Charlie Kirk. I'm talking about Ali Alexander here. He had to testify before the January 6th committee investigating what transpired in the nation's capital on January 6th. This is when, of course, Trump supporters decided to storm the Capitol in their effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. Now, some interesting things happened. Transcripts from his closed-door deposition with the January 6th committee show that Alexander blamed Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA for financing the travel of rioters from a number of points across the country to DC, where they, of course, broke into the Capitol and did what they did. Now, here's what he said in his sworn deposition. I think it was my understanding that it was ran through Turning Point USA. Now, he denied any involvement except for the fact that Turning Point USA was using his popular Stop the Steal branding. And a committee representative asked him at one point, it sounds like you're saying that to the extent that buses were paid for, with the exception of one possible one that you may have had for Stop the Steal, your involvement in the buses was basically to advertise Turning Point's offering of the bus. And Ali Alexander responded yes to that question. Now, Alexander was not done yet. Later in an interview with the Daily Beast, he took another shot at Charlie Kirk and his facial features, saying, I wonder how Charlie Kirk escaped any scrutiny when he made us bus in all those people on his funded buses. Fortunately, he's losing donors and popularity while gaining face weight. Disgusting.
That's him earlier. That's a picture of him a lot earlier.
That is earlier. Anyway, now, before I go to you, Ben, Ali Alexander is wrong, actually. When he says that, I just don't get how Charlie Kirk escaped all the scrutiny. He didn't, because there was one person who brought this up to Charlie Kirk, to his face. Let's watch.
Where was I on January 6th?
You were doing a podcast in which you said, I'm getting 500 emails a minute of people saying we want civil war, and ginning that up.
You were arrested at the Capitol.
Not that day.
And I was in Phoenix, Arizona.
And you also sent busloads of people to the Capitol on Jan 6th.
You're the insurrectionist.
But that day that you ginned up.
That is libelous and slanderous, and you know it.
That day that you
So what's the final question you have here?
That day that you ginned up.
I ginned up nothing.
That
That's a
day that you
disgusting
ginned up.
lie. You're the only one that got arrested at the Capitol.
You said you were sending patriots to fight.
I said nothing like that.
Yes, you did.
You've never said
patriots to fight.
Metaphorically fight.
And you said they want a civil war.
This is so typical of the left.
You encouraged a civil war. If you're not responsible for what happened on Jan 6, is that because unintended consequences happened that you didn't anticipate?
I hope that
kind of like mothers that have an unintended pregnancy, they didn't anticipate. So if you want to be cut some slack for Jan 6, maybe you could cut women some slack.
Thank you.
Who unintentionally get pregnant.
Does
that sound like a deal?
You're the domestic terrorist.
I was arrested for peaceful protesting, my friend.
Thank you. Domestic terrorist.
He called you a domestic terrorist?
He did indeed. And then I replied to cut earlier, but I said, you ginned up an insurrection against our country as he stormed off of his own set. So I was bothered by the fact that he escaped a lot of scrutiny from the mainstream media. And in my research for the debate, I learned this. That was somehow buried, that he sent like 80 buses. I don't know the exact number, but I think it was 80, and is largely responsible for what happened in our country and this terrible day. And I wanted to make sure that I called him out. And you win an interaction when somebody leaves their own studio.
Totally, that's
and leaves
amazing.
me alone. It became the Ben Glebe debate show.
Well, I mean, you're a domestic terrorist, obviously. I mean, you're not the one who bussed in a bunch of people who rioted at the nation's capital because they didn't like the results of a presidential election, but you are a domestic terrorist.
He just pulled the exact move that school children do when they don't have a response. They go, you are.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
You're stupid.
Exactly right.
That was amazing.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure people realize Charlie Kirk is a domestic terrorist and is somebody who is funding, he funded the insurrection and does not believe in our democracy. Make sure that message gets spread.
Now, Charlie Kirk also, by the way, erased some tweets related to January 6th, which look, Ali Alexander should not be let off easy because he was part of this, and what he's trying to do through this deposition is, pivot to Turning Point USA or someone else to avoid taking any blame. Yep. He deserves blame, so does Charlie Kirk. Okay, they're both wrong. They both should be investigated, and whatever their role is, if they incited violence or encouraged what happened, they should suffer consequences for that, period. Now, Alexander also said that Turning Point USA turned their backs on the election integrity movement. So that statement alone makes it clear that he's perpetuating nonsense talking points about how there was massive fraud that led to Trump losing the election. He lost the election fair and square. He totally screwed up the response to the coronavirus pandemic. If he had done the bare minimum, I actually think he would have had a good shot in getting reelected. But the fact of the matter is, the guy screwed up and people voted him out.
These people just don't think there's consequences. They don't think there's consequences to their words.
Because usually there isn't.
Because usually there isn't. It's so true. It's why we have to get so much better at holding people to the fire, holding them to account. But it shows you exactly their false bravado. They're happy to tweet things, happy to say something on a podcast when you're from a distance and let people go play out. But as soon as there might be consequences, I didn't say it, I didn't do it, somebody else was responsible. You're responsible. If you're gonna claim complete BS and try to take down literally our democracy, you are a traitor to your country and you will pay that consequence. And it doesn't matter if a year and a half has gone by, 2 years has gone by. Sometimes it takes a minute for those chickens to come home to roost, but consequences will come.
Oh, they're coming. All right, so a few more things I want to mention. So Ali Alexander and Charlie Kirk are apparently not friends. And this is not the first time Alexander went after him and made some pretty explosive claims. Alexander made even more explosive claims against Turning Point USA, including allegations the student group partakes in a systemic pattern of covering up sex scandals with nonprofit money. Class action lawsuits by parents could take down Turning Point USA. He further wrote of the student group he's taken to calling satanic trafficking TPUSA.
Yeah.
And Ali Alexander is apparently also done with Trump. So much for that election integrity movement. Let's watch.
Again, Trump didn't call me. There's still some time left, by the way. It's still December. But Trump hasn't called me, and I gave up my whole life. I literally had to leave my house because Antifa knew where I lived and gave me credible death threats. I lost everything for Trump, everything. And I'm not like Nick Fuentes or Alex Jones, where I can just re-spin up my platform. I lost everything for Trump.
That means you're a sucker. You got lied to. You took part in inciting what happened on January 6th. And the only reason why he's upset about it is that Trump didn't give him a call. Because it's all about him, right? It's not about what's best for the country. It's not about what's wrong or right. It's just, I feel slighted by Trump because he didn't call me.
It's so great. It's so great seeing these idiots that have been duped by the most obvious idiot in modern history and them slowly realizing live on air, wait a minute, is he not the guy that I thought he was? Is he not really fighting for us? Is what he's saying full of lies? And a little bit of perfect wardrobe he was wearing right there, wearing his black and white striped shirt, Hamburglar style, probably premonition that he's on his way to a place where people wear that kind of stuff. It's called prison, buddy. Good luck.
We'll see what happens, but I do love watching these questionable figures turn on one another because there's no honor among thieves. There just isn't.
So. I gave up my life for this criminal, and hey, how come doesn't have my back? Is it because maybe he's not loyal to anyone?
Could be, you should look into it.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, we really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.